Hi, everybody. This is Hondo Carpenter, your Las Vegas Raiders beat writer on SI and the host of the Las Vegas Raiders Insider Podcast. It's great to be with you today. We are getting right back into our position group evaluation. And today we're going to be talking about the specialists. And the Raiders, in my opinion, from coaching on down, are the best special teams unit in the National Football League as far as their specialists. I'm going to explain what I mean by that and all of it today. But this is a huge part of the game. It's a third part of the game. And you will find a lot of people overlook the specialists. And then, but when you look at championship teams, they're always in the elite when it comes to performance, when it comes to special teams. So this is a huge, humongous part of the game of football. And we're going to break it down today. First of all, we're going to start right with the kicker, Daniel Carlson, the best in the National Football League. Now, he did not have a 2024 as good as I think it could have been. It wasn't bad by any stretch of the imagination. Um, it was not his best, but he's incredibly consistent. And I still think he's the best kicker. If I had to go with one kicker in the National Football League, and I think there are three or four in this conversation, I would take Daniel Carlson. I would take him because of the way he is in the locker room, the way he is as a leader, um, and what he brings to your franchise, not just kicker. So let me give you an example. I have covered teams before where the players hate the kickers. Most kickers are not active during practice. They're not at practice. They're kind of off doing their own thing. There are a lot of places where the kickers and special teamers are really kind of a club med. Just go do your thing when we need you, show up. And in fact, it's usually talked about when you know who your specialists are, it's because they're no good. That's not the case with the Raiders. Daniel Carlson is consistent. He's out there at practice. He's engaged in practice when offense and defense are scrimmaging. If he's working on something that's with his coach, that's another, but he's there watching scrimmage. He is actively involved, which I know may surprise you, but that's not normal in the special teams world. He brings a ton to the table. He's a mentor to guys that aren't even on special teams. When those young players, and that's where young guys make the team. No, not an Ashton Genty, but um, that's where a young guy will make this team. He's a mentor. He's a leader. He gives advice. He's a seasoned vet that's extremely well respected. And Daniel Carlson is a great start. But I want to go back and I apologize. I should have started with Tom McMahon. There are two guys in the NFL that are universally considered the elite special teams coaches. And there's four or five that are super right below them, super good ones. But there are two that are considered elite. Tom McMahon is in that grouping. So is Rich Bisaccia. Now, in the interest of full disclosure, I was critical of the Raiders when Josh McDaniels came in and they chose to move on from Rich Bisaccia. I was very critical of it. I was critical of it for a couple of reasons. Rich was immensely valuable to this franchise. And in the interest of full disclosure, Rich Bisaccia and I are very good friends. Not just friends, we're very good friends. I don't mean that braggadociously, just it's full disclosure. But that's not why I thought it was the wrong move. There's been some guys that I'm friends with that are no longer here, um, who I think it was probably in the best interest of the franchise to move on. A few of them who I thought were good coaches, not great, but good coaches, but were good friends. I think the moving away from Rich and has nothing to do with the friendship at the point was a very big mistake. I think it hurt Josh McDaniels. It would have helped him to have kept him. And I didn't like the move because I just felt like it was and I said at the time, it was a very blind move to his locker room. A deaf move. It was a very deaf. He was deaf to his locker room when it came to removing Rich. And I know it angered a lot of players. But he goes out and gets Tom McMahon. But if you're a player in that locker room that loves Rich Bisaccia and he's done a great job, it's like, really? You're going to get rid of a guy doing a great job? And then, but he's also a beloved coach. So you bring in Tom McMahon, and Tom McMahon was behind the eight ball. Okay. He was behind the eight ball. And he had to work his tail off. Now the team loves him. They love him. And great guy, great coach. And so nobody held it against Tom because people knew his reputation, but they certainly held it against Josh that he let Rich Bisaccia go. I've been asked, yeah, well, we'll just leave it there. So that hurt. With that being said, Tom McMahon comes in, who was very well respected, and then he made another. Then another decision was made by Dave Ziegler, Josh McDaniels, and Tom McMahon to let one of the most popular players in the locker room, Trent Sieg, go. That's very rare for a long snapper. I mean, they're known and they're liked, but it's not like they're, super popular. Trent Sieg was extremely liked in his locker room. He was a terrific long snapper. But again, they go get Jacob Bobenmoyer, who is elite as well. So you replace two elite guys. You replace arguably one of the top two special teams coaches with the other one, and arguably one of the top three long snappers with one of the other two. So, to the credit of the Raider locker room at the time, it was not disrespectful to McMahon or Bobenmoyer. It was disappointing with the leadership for making the decision to move on. But in the interest of full disclosure, uh, everybody that was here when Bisaccia is here still loves Rich, but they love Tom McMahon. They love him. They don't like him. They genuinely love him, and he's earned it. Same with Jacob Bobenmoyer. Extremely popular in his locker room. People like him. He's different than Trent Sieg, which is fine, but it's not different in a bad way, just different personality type situations. So that's how that has all worked out. So you got Daniel Carlson, an elite kicker. I think he's the best. I don't think last year was his best year, but I still think he's the best. But I think around the league, he's considered a top 5 kicker. And I just like the things he does for this team as well as kick the football. Very calming influence, a great encourager, but not afraid to go over. Now Max Crosby's way is, what are you doing? Carlson's way is, hey, you know what? Can I show you some things I've done that may help you or work with you? Talking about off field or work ethic, that kind of stuff. Different approach, but you don't need everybody to be Max. You don't need everybody to be Daniel Carlson. The next guy is without a doubt the best punter. And I don't care who you are. There are two others that I think are elite. AJ Cole. I mean, you can make an argument for at least 3 kickers, maybe 5. And I got Daniel Carlson in that argument. When it comes to punters, you may be able to make an argument for one other one, but they're 1A and 1B, and that's Daniel Carlson. He is elite. He is a game changer. Last year, he should have been the MVP on this football team. He bailed the Raiders out a lot, and he made them a lot of games closer than they should have been with an anemic offense that couldn't do anything. And my Lord, there were times he would punt the football and it looked like a howitzer coming off that foot. I remember down at Costa Mesa at training camp. I think I either tweeted or wrote about this or talked about it in a podcast. He had a punt that everyone went, wow, and you could hear the whole team. And I remember, I don't remember the length of it right now. I remember what I think the length was, but I'm not even going to say it because it's unbelievable. I had never seen a punt, and I have been around thousands of punts, even remotely close to it. Um, it was the first time I have seen a punt in my career that looked like it was kicked by Ray Guy. And AJ is tough as nails. He will get down the field looking to hit somebody. Um, he is great at what he does. He is great at what he does. And he's elite. And like Carlson, this is why it's so rare. Your two main specialists are vocal leaders. They're guys that everybody looks up to. He's constantly in communication with offensive and defensive players. AJ Cole is the consummate pro. Him and Daniel Carlson, there is nothing about them as football players and men not to like. There's just nothing. You literally like every freaking single thing about them both. They're elite players, elite specialists, and they've really set the Raiders up for some tremendous success because of how they do things, the way they operate. Then you come to long snapper Jacob Bobenmoyer. Now, there are probably three guys in the NFL that are considered the best. Trent Sieg is one of them, Bobenmoyer, and probably Tabor Pepper with the San Francisco 49ers. Those are really the three best long snappers. Again, there are some others that are really good, but there is kind of your elite group. Bobenmoyer came in, and after what went down with Trent, I had more than one player use these type of words about him. Just kept his mouth shut. Knew how much everybody loved Trent. Evidently, I don't know this, but I would assume that him and Trent have a relationship. A lot of specialists do, whether it's through Coles or whatever, it's through the Coles camp. But I would assume that because many people talked about how highly he talked about Trent and the way he handled it, super respectful, put his head down and did his job. And everyone's like, wow, okay, man, it sucks that Trent's gone, but this guy's good. And then his character won everyone. Bobenmoyer is extremely good person, extremely good guy, has some real hustle. Now, he also lent a big hand because he knew what McMahon wanted. And so McMahon had a guy to help him coach his system. Okay. Pete Carroll, even though it's going to be Chip Kelly's offense, has a Geno Smith to kind of let guys know what he wanted. I hope that makes sense to you. And if it doesn't, it's because I'm not communicating it well. But Bobenmoyer came in and he brings something to this team that, hey, I know what Tom wants. Let me help you. And because of the guy he was, people listened. And because of how McMahon was, he listened. And so, again, those three guys are so solid. Now, another thing that AJ Cole does, and most people don't understand this, the holder for field goals, you really have to develop a relationship with the kicker. I've had more than one kicker tell me the holder is as critical as the actual kick, and using their words, me as well. And me being the kickers who said it. I remember watching Morton Anderson, great Spartan, by the way. And the kicker and the holder just get in sync. So not only are AJ and Daniel extremely close friends, but AJ is his holder. Usually it's like your third string quarterback. But AJ has some athleticism now. There could be fakes coming from the mad scientist known as Tom McMahon with AJ, and don't worry about that. AJ has the athleticism to do some stuff. But again, it's where AJ continues to add to his value. Now let's talk about kick returner. Okay. Trey Tucker is really your guy, and then you'll put a backup, um, you know, a Dylan Labe there. I think it's going to be Trey Tucker and Tommy Malott as your kick returners. Now, that's what I think if I had to pick today, excuse me, what it would be. I think Labe is going to have trouble making the roster. Not special, not practice possibly, but that 50-minute three I think is going to be very because of the addition of Malott. Malott doesn't have Tucker's speed, so I still think Tucker's there, but he's got some things that Tucker doesn't. He's got some moves. He is if you've ever fished, you know of a lure called a jitterbug or the old dance, the jitterbug. He's shifty. He can make himself small. I talked about this when I broke down wide receivers the other day, but how he'll turn his body and run through a hole sideways. Now he's not big, but he's shifty. One of the things that I had a scout tell me about Tommy Malott, if you go back and watch his film, you'll notice it. Very few people get a direct shot at him. I mean, you'll hit him. I'm not saying he doesn't get hit, but boy, you don't just get a solid crush. Doesn't mean he's never been crushed. But when you're not the biggest guy in the world, you got to learn how to avoid that. And it's shifty. Malott just kind of has that shiftiness. Now he's got straight ahead speed. Not Trey Tucker, but he's got straight ahead speed. So once he gets out of traffic, I think personally, he's even better at shiftiness than Tucker, which is fine because in kick returning, not so much. But we'll get to this in a minute. Punt, you got to be more shifty. So at the kick returner spot, I think it's Malott, and I think it's Tucker. Then you come to punt returner, where there's only going to be one guy. I am certain going into camp that's going to be Trey, but Malott's going to be getting and Labe's going to take some too in camp. But I will be shocked if Malott at some point, either before the season or after, and I would expect Malott to get all your punt returns in preseason. But I think you're going to see Malott earn that punt returner's role because of what I just talked aforementioned when I talked about kick returner. He's shifty. And sometimes you don't have to be the fastest guy in the world. Look at Jacoby. Jacoby's not the fastest wide receiver on his own team. He's probably third. Probably. But why is he the best one? Because he just creates a way. Fred Biletnikoff was not the fastest man on the field. But why is the award for the best receiver named after him, the Biletnikoff Award? Because he was the best receiver. Sometimes you got to be fast. Nobody's denying that. But sometimes it's not just straight ahead speed. Sometimes, a lot of times, most of the time, it's what do you do with that speed? What do you do with it? Do you have the shiftiness to where you can turn on the burners? Who cares if you're fast if you get the ball and you're surrounded by defenders where they can get a hand on you? Are you shifty? Can you get away from them and then whoosh, gone? It's Tommy Malott. This kid is an interesting kid. Listen, I love Trey Tucker speed, and y'all know I like Trey. This is not a Trey thing. But the Raiders have got to get more out of kick return and punt return. That is why Malott was picked. Yes, he was picked to play some receiver, but he was picked. Go do something in special teams, young man. Listen, he doesn't have the body or the ability to be an NFL quarterback. So I've heard a lot of people say, oh, he'll be the third quarterback. Stop. Could he in an emergency? Yes. But is he a consistent and no, stop. But could he line up at a wide receiver? Take a ball in motion, throw a pass? Yes. Could he do a bubble and throw a pass? Absolutely. But he was brought here for being a specialist. Doesn't mean he can't grow like Edelman, but at first he's going to earn his living. That shiftiness, that ability to do, boom, man, move. He's good. Again, not a slam on Trey. It's another testimony of Spy Tech. And it's another testimony of his ability to look at a roster, identify a roster, and say, here's a niche guy. I mean, he saw it. Everybody saw what the Patriots did with Edelman. And now they're going to see what they can do in Milan. Tom McMahon, look out. It's going to be interesting. Thanks, everybody.